If you're out for a stroll in the wilds of Australia, Europe, Africa, or North America, you might stumble upon a peculiar and gruesome sight: the impaled victims of the Butcherbird. Setting its sights on larger prey but lacking the strength to subdue it, the Butcherbird uses its environment to its advantage when hunting. But, brutal or not, a bird's gotta do what a bird's gotta do to survive here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, search Cassie Michelle on YouTube.
And thank you to Brian for the fabulous artwork for this week's episode. To see his art, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy, or visit us at ldtaxonomy.com. I'll get it right.
And today we're talking about Yennefer of Vengerbird, a black and white songbird from down under. But more on that later.
What? Yennefer of Vengerbird? What?
Yennefer of Vengerbird is Yennefer from The Witcher, and she is famous for wearing black and white all the time.
Oh, is she a butcher?
Some would, in some situations, I guess.
Sure.
Not as many as Geralt, I suppose, but...
What are we talking about?
What are we talking about? Who could say?
You can.
Oh, we're talking about the gray Butcherbird.
Yes, the Butcher. Also known as, we're going to call it here, Big Bad Vlad. You know,
nice.
Vlad the Impaler.
Uh-huh.
And to Bill the Butcherbird. I don't know if you've ever seen Gangs of New York, but that's my favorite character in that movie.
I have not.
It's Daniel Day-Lewis at his finest.
I did play D&D once, and one of the PCs, playable characters, was known as the Gray Butcher.
Huh.
I don't think the person that was playing that character knew about this bird.
Probably not.
But would you like to hear what science says?
Yes.
Science says it's in the kingdom you know, love, and live within. The kingdom Animalia. The phylum is Chordata. The class is Aves. I think do we know what the next one is? Say it with me. The order is Passeriformes.
Passeriformes. Although I can't expect anybody else to know.
What birds are not in Passeriformes? Like an ostrich?
Lots of little songbirds, I think.
But there's a lot of little songbirds in Passeriform.
I know that birds of prey are not in Passeriformes.
Oh, so it's all like Passeriformes are crows and
a blue jay and a crow would be the two like kind of staple archetypal Passeriformes. But
like seabirds may not be.
Yeah, and ducks and yeah. There's. I'm pretty sure this is the largest order of birds.
Yeah.
But there are lots of birds that are not in this order, and they're all called it's passerine, I think, is the adjective.
Ducks and chickens are in Gallinaceae.
Are ducks in the same one? Ducks and chickens are in the same one?
They're fowl. They're in the Galliformes, which is land fowl, and then waterfowl are Anseriformes.
Gallimimus.
So they're in this. They're in one. I don't know if it's a suborder something, but it's a collection of all fowl.
Got it. Yeah. So I imagine game birds are not in Passeriformes.
And raptors, Passeriformes, passerines.
They're
parrots. Parrots are very close to them.
Parrots aren't Passeriformes, are they?
No, they're all both Passeriformes and parrots are Psittacopasseri, which is a taxon of birds consisting of Passeriformes and Psittaciformes. That's a fun one to say.
Is that like a super order or something like that? Subclass?
Something like that.
Though what's important is that Passeriforms have passerines they don't have very strong legs. Their legs aren't meant for much other than standing and perching.
Speaking of that, they're in the family Artemidae?
Artamidae?
Australian passerines. The Indo-Pacific region of birds.
This is my favorite genus of maybe all of the animals we've done so far.
Really? The genus is Crocticus?
Caractacus.
I wouldn't say it's Caractacus. I would say it's Crocticus.
It's definitely could be interpreted to be the first name of Dick Van Dyke's character in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I did not know that.
His name is Caractacus Potts.
I don't think I saw that like a few times when I was very young, and I hated it. I struck it from my memory.
What? My mom loves musicals, and she had me watch. They were just on all the time. And of all of the musicals from that era that we watched, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was one of my favorites because it had a flying car that also turns into a boat, and there's castles and soldiers and a danger, and it's not like My Fair Lady or The King and I, where it's just this sappy love story with nothing going on. So I always loved Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in comparison to the others. That and West Side Story, because there are knife fights.
I guess the reason that you had it juxtaposed with The King and I as a child.
Yeah,
and I had it like my cousin loved it, and we could have been watching The Lion King for the 6,000th time, and I wanted to do that instead.
I recommend Chitty Chitty Bang Bang to everybody. But anyway, the main character, Dick Van Dyke, who mysteriously doesn't have a British accent when his kids and everybody around him do, his name is Caractacus.
Well, the species is Torquatus. Caractacus torquatus. Torquatus? Passamaquoddy, another musical from the 70s.
What?
Isn't Passamaquoddy, I think, is the name of the town of Pete's Dragon, and we're not talking about this. Last episode was like 45 minutes. Okay. Would you like to have it described, or would you like to do a game?
Yeah, I was going to interrupt you. It's time for my favorite part of the show, critter groups. And I love critter groups when it comes to birds, because unlike fish, you got the one, it's a flock. Fine, it's a flock of birds. But people love watching and categorizing birds so much that most birds have most families of birds have their own collective nouns. So there's just a wealth of collective nouns here to work with. So the more birds we do, the better, in my opinion. Just for the sake of this segment. And after I say all that, there isn't one for butcherbirds. But we'll get into why. Well, I can get into why now. The butcherbird is that designation spans several families. It's more of an a behavior of these birds and less of kind of their being related. So, for example, the shrike there are a lot of shrikes that are butcherbirds, but they are not in the family Artamidae, so they're not related to the gray butcherbird, even though they might be called butcherbirds as well. So there isn't a collective noun for butcherbirds because they span so many families, but the gray butcherbird is related to the Australian magpie. So we're going to talk about what the collective noun is for magpies. So Joe, this is the part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question. The question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal? What is the collective noun? What is the term of venery for magpies? Is it A, a gulp of magpies, B, a spike of magpies, C, a watch of magpies, or D, a torrent of magpies?
I'm going to go with a torrent of magpies.
Is that your final answer?
Give me the first one again.
Gulp.
A gulp,
Mm-hmm.
torrent, a watch.
Mm-hmm. And a spike.
I'm gonna go with a watch. Final answer.
That is incorrect.
Hmm.
But going with your gut would also not have helped because the answer was gulp.
Okay.
This is a gulp of magpies.
When you first said watch, I was like, a watch? Like a wrist watch? But then I'm thinking, no, wait, it's like a watch, like
The
Night's Watch.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes sense for birds.
Yeah, and gulp was the tamest one for magpies that I could find. So if we lose this this recording, then I'm gonna have a lot more. That well is
Horrible ones?
deep and wide.
Interesting.
Not horrible, just so
Crazy?
crazy. Just like who came up with that? Now you have my permission to describe the bird to us.
You have my permission. The gray butcherbird has a black head with a white neck and belly. I called it Yennefer of Vengerbird, but there are other butcherbirds in Australia that are more black and white. There's some gray area to the butcherbird, the gray one. Their shoulders are slate gray with black wingtips and tail feathers. Young ones have a dark brown head with white streaks, and they're said to look a lot like a kingfisher. Sometimes they're mistaken for a kingfisher.
They do, except they don't have that kind of the crest. That
Right.
The kind of there's a lot of different kinds of kingfishers, but the one you're probably thinking of has that crest.
They're shaped like a crow with a proportionally larger beak. So, like a kingfisher kind of has.
Mm-hmm.
And the beak is also, it has this distinct hook on the end of it that you wouldn't see in any passeriform. You wouldn't see in just every passeriform. Like the straight beak of a crow. Males and females are similar colors, unlike a lot of birds, and unlike some birds, the males are slightly larger. That's what they look like, but that brings us to what they size like.
How much do they size, Joe?
Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show until we have another vote. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you. When you send in audio of yourself singing or chittering, the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro. It's been a while.
I was hoping for a chitter.
We're needing a chitter.
Yeah, we need to go out and Shanghai our family members into sending in more measure ups.
We need a chitty chitty bang bang of
Yes,
sorts.
we do. Mason is going to start talking eventually, so I'll get him to say it.
That's your goal. Train him up in the way he should go,
yes.
so that he can.
He will not depart from this podcast.
But that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is. So without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Okay, so
There's a bit of a cacophony of bird sounds there.
yes, so we're looking for a songbird. I have a collection of songbirds. It's probably not as engaging as, when there's different types of animals that you can guess, but there's no way that's anything but a songbird. So, is it A, the common blackbird? B, a Malabar whistling thrush, friends with our friend the Malabar squirrel? Purple squirrel. Or is it C, the Bahama mockingbird?
That's fun to say.
Or is it D, the gray butcherbird?
Well, I listened to the gray butcherbird's call, and so I know it's not that. Bahama mockingbird is fun to say.
That sounds like a cocktail.
Isn't Bahama Mama a cocktail?
Maybe, but it's also a smoothie at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
That's probably what I'm thinking of. Oh, it's been a while. I need to get back into smoothie season.
Smoothies are great.
Yeah, they really are. They're not as good for you as you might think, but they're better for you than ice cream. The Malabar one, and then there's the blackbird, the thrush, the Malabar. No, the Malabar thrush is the same thing.
Malabar thrush, blackbird, mockingbird.
I'm gonna say Bahama mockingbird because I wanted to say that one more time. So that's my answer.
Final answer.
Uh-huh.
The correct answer is the common blackbird.
Huh.
Now I looked at the picture. Doesn't look like the blackbirds we know. It has like an orange ring around its eyes. Probably not from. It's probably a common blackbird in like Europe or something.
And those are the ones that sing in the dead of night?
Yeah, probably.
Because the blackbirds here, they don't.
No, they sing in the day.
Yeah, and
they sing in parking lots when there's French fries around.
And if they have broken wings, they don't. They can't learn to fly. They're done.
Let's talk about wingspan. Speaking of wings, they have a body length of up to 30 centimeters or 11.8 inches.
Wait, that's length, body length, or wingspan?
They have a body length of up to. We're not going to talk about it, but you should know for the test. It's 30 centimeters or 11.8 inches, and the wingspan is between 37 to 43 centimeters or 14.6 to 16.9 inches. But we're going with the upper end of average.
It's really close to a foot and a half.
How many gray butcherbird wingspans go into the tallest inflatable water slide?
All right, I want to see how you connected this to the bird.
Okay, here's the hint. The tallest water slide ever is called the Hybrid XL, and it was made for a pop-up water park in Perth, Australia.
A pop-up water park. Huh.
And if you're thinking the world's tallest water slide sounds like excess more akin to U.S.-based exploits, it was made by a U.S.-based company called Freestyle Slides.
But it's inflatable, so it's got to be able to hold up its own weight.
Now, I will tell you, it's called the Hybrid XL. Its ladder is not... The steps leading up to the top are not inflatable.
Got it. So that might be like a support cage for it. So it could be taller than it otherwise could be. I'm going to say 50 feet.
50 feet?
Yes. So I'm going to say 33. 33 wingspan, gray butcherbird wingspans going to the height of this giant water slide.
Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer is 52.1.
Oh, wow. This is like a 70-foot.
73.4 feet or 22.4 meters.
That is tall. I want to ride it now. I love water slides.
The fact that it's inflatable seems like when at the top it's so flimsy, but it's not. I think it was fastened to that staircase, and the top, the slide part. At the very top. There's a covering that I think adds more structure. So you're going down like a tube instead of something with walls that could just like collapse. Slide under and you fall over. So yeah, it looks safe. Looks crazy, but it looks like there's attention to safety. All right, good. So let's talk about weight. This unfortunately will have nothing to do with the butcherbird, but it is interesting. They're 90 grams. Their weight, or 3.2 ounces. Further illustrating that an ounce is giant.
Too big.
So, how many butcherbirds go into a jar of elvish honey, capital letters there, that you could buy for $6,800?
Elvish honey?
Yes, a brand of honey called elvish honey.
Is it like lembas bread? Do you you put one little dollop of it on your tongue and then that's enough to fill your stomach for a full day?
Well, you put one little dollop of on your tongue, and it's enough to have spent your budget for food for the day.
$6,000, you said?
So here's a hint. Elvish honey is $6,800. Here,
Oh my God.
Elvish honey is a natural wild honey that's produced in a deep cave in Turkey. The cave is said to imbue the honey with special minerals that make the product more expensive than gold.
I don't think I want minerals in my honey.
It's like mineral water.
I guess. Do bees not make honey in other caves?
Maybe not this cave.
Not this cave. Interesting.
Most honey that you buy is made by beekeepers. Like artificially constructed hives. Made by bees, real bees. But
yeah, not by the beekeepers. That'd be gross.
but like wild honey is usually more expensive, and this particular wild honey is very expensive.
The most. So you said it's more valuable than gold, which gives me a clue. Because
now, you're not allowed to look up the price of gold.
Well, I did a few years ago, and it was like $1,200 for an ounce.
That's fine. You're allowed to take in prior knowledge.
I don't know what it is now. So
it changes on the regular.
Yeah, but it's pretty
steady.
It's relatively stable. And things have only gone up. So I imagine it might be $1,300 an ounce for gold. And this is more valuable than gold. So let's say it's $2,000 an ounce, which means, and this is 6,800, so it's it's 1-1. Final answer. It costs $6,800 for 3.2 ounces of this honey. Pooh would have a field day with this. Christopher,
I need the Elvish honey.
Just a small smackerel.
A smackerel of the decadence of the most expensive honey.
But Pooh, my family would go bankrupt if you have just even one smackerel of the Elvish honey.
It'll be worth it. The final answer, 1 Butcherbird?
Yes.
The correct answer is 11 Butcherbirds.
Oh, where did I go wrong? I thought I was on the money on this one.
Elvish honey goes for about 68,000 per kilogram.
6,800?
Yeah, 6,800 per kilogram.
Was I thinking like, no, that's gold by the ounce.
Yeah, so how many ounces are in a kilogram? 3.
I don't know. There's 16 ounces in a pound, so that means there's about 35 ounces in a kilogram.
Yep.
Now I got to look up gold's price. Gold is $1,700. Wow, it shot up. I definitely should have bought it back in 2018. Anyway.
That's all I got for that. Do you have any? I have fast facts. Would you like to hear those?
Yeah.
Even though they're known as butchers, they're actually very talented singers. They're known to be among the premier songbirds of Australia. Their songs contain both melodious whistles and harsh dissonant sounds. Each member of a single territorial group participates in the same territorial song. So they have little communities, and they share this same song that kind of like is the song of their area. So it's their national anthem.
This is their "A Mighty Fortress Is Our God." This is their their battle anthem.
Yeah. They repeat each other's song in a given area to let other birds know that the territory belongs to their group. Sharing the same song allows the birds to spread a tune farther than if a single bird sang, like lighting the beacons of Gondor.
The best scene in the movie. Already seen.
But
anyway,
when a territorial group is performing, birds from other territories shut up and listen out of respect.
They stop, collaborate, and listen?
Yes. They don't collaborate. They just listen. Songs have been recorded lasting as much as 15 minutes. It's like Handel's Messiah. Handel's Messiah is like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's more like Freebird.
Actually, no, it's more like 12. Isn't it like 6 hours? Handel's Messiah is really long.
Freebird is 15 minutes long.
It's half of Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. Individual members usually call and respond, but sometimes they overlap. They breed in pairs between July and January, and both sexes share parenting duties. Both will feed hatchlings and defend the nest, but only the mother incubates the eggs. They may nest in a variety of habitats, including woodland, shrublands, rainforests, and even urban areas. They mostly eat insects and other animals, but they'll sometimes eat seeds and fruit, but rarely. In some cases, they'll even eat other smaller birds and vertebrates. And that's all I got.
I did you listen to their song?
Yes.
It's recorded on Wikipedia. It's like frenetic. It's all over the place. So it's interesting. So you can see how it can be a kind of a personal stamp on a territory. But it called it rollicking. The Wikipedia page called it. I was like, I don't even know I don't know how to describe music as rollicking, but I guess that counts.
What is rollicking?
I don't know.
Is it frolicking?
Here, let's see. Exuberantly, lively, and amusing. Sure.
That works.
Yeah. All right, so it's time for the major fact, which I'm calling the penchant for poking. So I didn't call it Big Bad Vlad and Bill the Butcherbird for nothing. If you remember from Dracula, is originally Vlad the Impaler. A man so evil that he just impaled his enemies on spikes all the time. And then demons turned him into a vampire. Anyway, butcherbirds are specifically, like I said earlier, they're not one family of birds. It's more about this. Oh yeah, so it's not one particular family. It's just butcherbird describes their particular hunting technique, and it's specific and brutal. So like for example, I got this idea when I remembering my when I went to South Africa, and there were shrikes there, and the way you knew that a shrike was there was because you saw its food, and I'll describe what that looked like later. What butcherbirds of all types practice is a common predator hunting method called sally pouncing, which is when you just find that zombie girl from Nightmare Before Christmas and knock her down.
It sounds like something you would be accused of when you're not being very productive.
It's like, hey,
quit sally pouncing around and get
stop
to work.
Sally pouncing, like dilly-dallying. Well, what sally pouncing is for birds is sitting on a perch waiting for prey below you, flying straight into the prey, and grabbing it with your beak and flying back to your perch. So it's kind of it's in sallies, or I guess that's like in volleys almost. So gray butcherbirds specifically mainly go for insects, but they'll also, like you said, eat lizards, frogs, and even mice, small vertebrates. And especially for the frogs and mice, these can get as big as the butcherbird. It's the question is like how are they able to take down prey that's so big? So I mean, lots of birds use this sally pouncing method, but a lot of them are raptors, birds of prey like eagles, falcons, hawks, things like that. But where raptors have strong legs and talons and wings so that they can grab and carry off their prey, the butcherbird has the dainty feet of a passerine. As we mentioned earlier, they're meant for standing and perching and not for killing and grabbing and flying off with. So it needs a different strategy. So what it does is when it, specifically when a butcherbird goes for say like a largish mouse, it'll clamp its beak down on the spinal cord to paralyze it, and then it will shake its prey around like a dog to break its neck. So you know how dogs do that thing where if like my dog, if I give him a specific toy, he'll just wrench his head back and forth to presumably kill that teddy bear. But that's how a lot of predators, specifically mammalian predators, kill their prey. And so it's not super common for a bird to do that. But what comes next is what gets the butcherbirds their title. So after breaking their prey's neck, they will often find a nice, quiet place to sit down, settle, and impale their prey on a thorn or a branch. So this is what I saw when we were driving around in South Africa, is these like cactuses and like these very bristly branches with, I didn't see any mammals, but bugs and lizards impaled on these sticks. We drove by pretty quickly, so I couldn't get a picture. He's like just slowed down and said like, check that out. But I was like, oh, that's crazy. And so yeah, they'll do this. Sometimes the prey is still alive when this happens. Most of the time they're dead, so that they can't attract other predators, because this acts as what's called a larder, which is a place to keep food. And so whenever an animal,
Bilbo Baggins keeps all of his food.
Does he keep it in a larder?
I think that's what he calls it in The Hobbit.
Does
Sorry.
he?
Off kilter.
Back before we had ways of keeping food like meat, perishables, in refrigerators and ice boxes, you'd keep it in a larder where meat was salted and covered in fat, so that it would stay fresh. The butcherbird obviously doesn't cover its food in fat. The point is that it keeps it in a place for safekeeping, so they can come back and eat it later. It also makes it easier to eat, so that it's not on the ground, apparently. And also, if the victim is still alive, it makes it easier to eat because it's stuck in one spot. And it also, presumably, they haven't confirmed this yet, but it could be a way for males to attract mates by showing like, hey, check out my tree of bodies. I am a capable hunter and cruel master. So yeah, whenever and butcherbirds, like I said, they're in Africa, they're in Australia, they're in North America, and in Europe, because it describes this technique, not necessarily a specific family of birds. They're all passeriforms, though. And so yeah, if you ever see an impaled like insect or lizard, you either have a potential serial killer child on your hands, or a butcherbird. I'm imagining like a Mad Max scene, just like, welcome to my dominion of impaled death. And that's all I got.
That's all I got. That sounds delicious, though. Good larder.
Yeah, I want some lard. Yeah.
Every time we make like steak or ground beef, and I drain the fat into a cup, because you're not supposed to put it down the drain. Johanna is like, what is this? Because I guess she's never experienced that before.
It is really weird especially once it like congeals.
Yeah, and it's just like solid, a cup of solid liquid.
Like it's like gelatinous butter.
She just texted, "Stop gossiping about me."
She hears everything that happens.
She does.
But yeah, that's the gray butcherbird. But butcherbirds in general. I chose this one in particular because it has an interesting little call. And also the genus was Caractacus. So for you out there in Podcastia, Sally Pounce whenever you get the chance. Sing a rollicking duet And keep your food impaled where you can always find it, like the gray butcherbird here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, thanks for listening to the episode. Just a few quick things. As always, reviews and social media engagement are greatly appreciated, but recommending the podcast to friends is the best way to help us grow. If you'd like some LDT flavored merch, check out teespring.com/stores/taxonomy-tees. That's it. Thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
When a territorial... Really?
Yep.
There's so many great scenes.
That's
in
my.
the
I
movie.
mean, I don't know if it's the best, but it's my favorite.
Which movie is that in? That's in The Two Towers?
I don't.
That's in The Return of the King?
I don't even know who I'm talking to right now.
I can't remember. All those movies are a unit to me. They're all one.
No, yes, it's in The Return of the King, and it's amazing.
It's one story. I only ever watched them all at once.
I refuse to watch The Lord of the Rings unless I could section off 13 to 14 hours of my day.
Well, it is true that I never watch just one and then go several months before ever watching another one. I always watch them like within a week or within a few weeks.
Oh,
Definitely within a month.
I watch them out of order depending on whatever I feel like watching. It's like, oh, I'm feeling very Two Towers, very Two Towersy.